So let's take a look here at another squad that is going to be pretty curious as to how people view them, and that is the Tennessee Titans here, Stephen. And with the Tennessee Titans, look, I am down on this squad overall. I thought they were incredibly lucky last year. I thought they were incredibly fortunate to be in the position that they were in. Mike Vrabel entering his fourth season. I think Vrabel's a good coach. I don't think that's not the reason I'm down on this team. Todd Downing, offensive coordinator, Shane Bowen as your defensive coordinator. Main thing is as we know, in the offseason, they had to trade away A.J. Brown. They didn't have the money to pay him. They lose Julio Jones in the free agency as well. They try to replace A.J. Brown and Julio Jones with Robert Woods. I think that is going to be a very interesting experiment. Austin Hooper is in town. He's kind of an underrated pass catcher. So Austin Hooper at the tight end position. A.J. Moore is a safety that got signed. They signed edge rusher DeMarcus Walker. Also Jamarco Jones at left tackle. But you lose Roger Saffold at right guard. You lose some of these, Dan Quisenberry at another guard for them is out of town. Rashaan Evans, a linebacker's out of town to go along with both of the receivers that are gone. I am just not, it's finding it hard for me to believe that you're going to be able to go into this season with Robert Woods and rookie Treylon Burks, who, if you listen to training camp, and it's training camp, and it's, I get it, but Treylon Burks apparently doesn't know where to line up and doesn't know the plays and all the things like that. I'm just on a team that I thought was so fortunate last year, Stephen, and now with the losses that we know that they have, another year older for Ryan Tannehill, another guy who I think is just middle of the road, just a middle of the pack type of dude. I just can't find myself getting there. 12th toughest schedule in the NFL as well.
This win total has come crashing down in recent weeks. I bet the Titans under 9.5 wins a little while ago at minus 135. Felt very confident on that. That was a multi-unit bet for me. As the market stands now, there are 8.5s out there with heavy juice on the over. There 9 is about average right now, minus 115 on the under, minus 105 on the over. And then you can get 9.5 still at a couple books. So there's some difference in the market here, but I think that there has been some sharp money here on unders on the Tennessee Titans for all the reasons you just said. They were extremely fortunate last year. And I just, admittedly, I confess, I was very high on Ryan Tannehill going into last season on a per pass basis in his first 2 years with Tennessee. He was extremely impressive. But last year, the clock struck midnight, and he was not very good. He, in terms of EPA per attempt a year ago and some of the stats that we think are more stable year over year, with no pressure, he was 20th among quarterbacks. On standard drops, he was 23rd. In the pocket, he was 25th. So he was not an above-average quarterback. And now he loses A.J. Brown. They're talking about maybe a fifth-round rookie starting in Kyle Phillips. Robert Woods is in there to potentially be a veteran presence. If he can stay healthy, he's getting up there in age. So I think they're going to run Derrick Henry into the ground as long as he's healthy and hope that's enough. And I don't think that's a situation where you wind up posting the same win total as you did a year ago.
And you look at Tannehill, 22. One of the metrics that Pro Football Focus grades is turnover-worthy plays, where the guy makes a bonehead throw, poor throw, whatever it might be. Tannehill had 22 turnover-worthy plays last season. He threw 14 picks as it was anyway, which was sixth most in the NFL. And then you look at this offensive line that got exponentially worse in the offseason. They lose guys left and right, and what you have now is what Pro Football Focus thinks is going to be the 27th rated offensive line in the NFL as we head into the season. And what that doesn't bode very well for is a guy like Ryan Tannehill. His clean pocket passing grade, 89.9, actually really, really good. His pressured passing grade, 57.6, right? And so you go from having a good offensive line where he did throw from a clean pocket a lot more than he's going to this year, and you can see it falls off a cliff when he's pressured from an 89.9 to a 57.6. As you mentioned, Robert Woods is 30 years old coming off of an ACL. I mean, we don't even know if he's going to be good or not. Like, we have absolutely no idea whether he's going to be good at all or not. If you are looking for a positive with this team, look, the defensive line, when you have a defensive line that has Jeffrey Simmons, Danico Autry, Bud Dupree, you're going to have a pretty good defensive line. So I believe that this defensive line is going to be able to handle some of these teams in some of these games, and probably maybe even will this team to a couple of wins that I don't think that they necessarily deserve. The secondary, Christian Fulton, Caleb Farley, Amani Hooker. I mean, you've got some talent in the secondary as well. So if the offense is going to be way worse than we think it's going to be, at least the defensive side of the ball shouldn't have them playing from a massive deficit all the time. But Stephen, I just don't think it's going to be enough. I think that this defense is going to be a defense that we're not going to pick on necessarily. I don't think, if from a fantasy perspective, if you play DFS, I don't think you're going to be looking to play against this defense necessarily with that defensive line and the secondary. But at the same time, you can only do so much, right? I mean, they can only prevent so much offense, and I just don't think that there's enough on the offensive side of the ball here. As you mentioned, I mean, Derrick Henry has more miles on his legs than any running back we have going in the NFL right now. And so it just, at some point, the regression, and I say the regression, I more mean Father Time, is going to just win here for Derrick Henry as well. So, if we think that he can produce at the same level that he has the last 3 seasons, then I can see where you might be a little bit more bullish on this team than I am. I've just seen it happen too many times where we wake up one day and these running backs are just old. Or let's also remember, it's a far worse offensive line this year as well. So he's running behind guys that don't block as well. So that can also be another thing that could send him come crashing back down to earth. I am so far out on this team. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's why I pounded the under on their win total when it was sitting at 9.5. It was at 10 for a little while when this market first opened. So what happened in recent years, Matt? They had to they had third down plays at a lot higher rate than they had in previous years. They went from 2020 having the third fewest third down offensive plays to last season having the second most behind only the Houston Texans in terms of third down plays. So that efficiency that they had, likely with a lot of running from Derrick Henry in previous years to get them to move the chains and play action situations for Ryan Tannehill with heavy boxes and one-on-one coverage on the outside, went away. So can they get back to that if Derrick Henry is healthy? I share your same concerns with the offensive line. I think when you're trying to run your offense like this in today's NFL, you really are requiring to be extremely efficient because you're cutting down on the number of plays and possessions that you're going to have in any given game. And if you're not taking advantage of the fewer opportunities you have, you're really making it tough on yourself to win these games. You're going to put yourself in a lot of coin flip games. And I think that's what the Tennessee Titans did last year. They wound up being on the right side of a lot of those coin flips, including a busted play at the end of the game against Buffalo when the clock ran out and they were, close to the scoring and taking the lead. So just one of many examples where they won one possession games a year ago. It was impressive, but I'm not sure it's sustainable in this day and age in the NFL.
Right. We have those projections over at Football Outsiders. Again, they ran the season 1 million times. And in those million simulations, Stephen, this team finished with 0 to 8 wins. So a losing record squad 61% of the time. So 61% of the time in those simulations, this Titans team had a losing record. So I think that speaks volumes as to where they were last year from again, just from a fortune perspective, how that carries over to this year. I just see this team as about about 500. I see them as a 7-8 win team, something like that at tops, at best. And I think in a bad scenario, in a bad case, can I see this team being way worse? I actually can as well. So just very tough for me to get there on them. If we're looking at the betting odds, if you want to bet them to win the Super Bowl, the best number you can find out there is 40 to 1
don't.
on this Titans team.
Please don't.
Please don't, for sure. And if you want to play them to win the AFC South, the best number you can find is plus 175. So plus 175 for this Titan squad to win the AFC South.